Hi guys, today I'm going to review the Honor 5X, and the great thing is this phone definitely doesn't need any sort of introduction because it's known as the $199 epic marvelous budget super phone. And in this video I want to find out if it's really the $199 marvelous phone that can't be beaten in this price point, or if there's a little bit of a marketing hype behind it, and that's maybe why it got all those great reviews, because this is something really interesting. And I will try to keep this video a little bit more direct, and therefore it could sound a little bit more harsh, even though I shouldn't be on a $199 phone. Just keep that in mind. I don't mean it in a bad way, but I just want to bluntly take out my opinion and tell it to you. So let's start off with the design and build quality. The first thing you can see here, metal backing, really nicely done. In terms of size, it has been done quite okay, but as you can see here, compared to a 5.2 inch, it's definitely wider, taller, and also thicker. And even in comparison with a normal sized 5.5 inch, it is a little bit more boxy and bulky. Don't get me wrong, they have executed it really nice in terms of design, because we have this nice little curve here, this nice beveled edge that makes it feel really premium. All has been nicely rounded off, so it feels very organic in the hand. The metal back is a little bit of a twisted thing, or at least I'm not quite so sure what to think about it, because with warm, moisty hands it feels really grippy, and this brushed metallic look feels really grippy. But if you have cold and maybe more dry hands, it can be very slippery actually. The fingerprint reader on the back works really nice, as you can see here, absolutely no problem. It's maybe not the very fastest one, but for this price point, already having one is really nice to see. And for this price is something you will hear me say a lot throughout the video. Here we have the camera, the flash, the microphone and the headphone jack, SIM card and SD card tray. Speaker holes on both sides, but just here is the speaker. Here we have a microphone and the micro USB. The buttons are placed pretty much perfectly in my opinion, because this is a natural position, even though I didn't use it so much because of the fingerprint reader on the back, where I'm not the biggest fan of this position, but that's a personal preference. The buttons though click very nicely, great tactile feedback, great placement, all has been executed very well. So for this price, this is really well done. No complaints here at all. It could have maybe been a little bit thinner, but like I said, for this price, it's almost too much that you get, so don't get me wrong. Now let's check the screen. 1080p, 5.5 inches, and it's a really lovely screen. It's not the very best one out there, but that's not what you should expect in the first place. It is definitely very clear and sharp, because the clarity of all the Honor and also Huawei devices is really great. White point is perfect because you can adjust it with the color temperature control in the settings. Black levels are absolutely nice, maybe not the deepest ones. The contrast ratio isn't maybe the best ones. The colors are quite nice, a little bit maybe on the more dull and undersaturated side. Definitely more natural and accurate. If you prefer some pop and more vivid or more vibrant colors, this is not so much what you will get, but therefore it's quite pleasant. Still, I would have wished for just a little bit more saturation. Viewing angles are okay, definitely not the best one. As you can see, it diminishes quite early. Maximum brightness is fine, but it's also not the very brightest display. But not just for this price, but in general, it's a really great one. It's not on the level of the Huawei G8 that had one of the best screens out there, but still does a really great job. So let's check the sound here. Whoopala. Now, about that speaker. The good thing is, if you have it in landscape, actually, as you can see, it fires mostly through your fingers and in this position as well. So I didn't really have any problems with the blocking or so. That was done fast. Fine. Tonal balance is absolutely nicely done, because we have a little bit of bass, the mids are quite solid, and the highs are very clear, almost a little bit harsh on the higher volumes. These higher volumes though, the maximum volume has been done really great, because it's definitely one of the more louder phones on the market, and in overall it just makes a great package, greatest satisfying experience, so no complaints here. Let's check the display, and when I say display, I actually mean performance. So let's check that one here. Chrome, for example, here doesn't really perform that well for some reason. I'm not quite sure what happened, because usually it performs better, but I think it's slightly cramped out. I'm really not sure what happened here. Let's try it once again, because usually Chrome performs quite nice. For some reason it bogged out. So as you can see here, it still performs really nicely. It's quite smooth. quite nice, so no problems here at all. The older web browser though doesn't perform that well. It stutters a little bit more and a little bit more lag, but it performs out quite nice. So the overall browsing experience is still okay, but definitely far from being the best one. Same goes for Twitter. The app runs quite nice, but there's a lot of micro stutters and lag happening, and I already complained about that on my Huawei G8 review with the Snapdragon 616. Here we have the 615, but I don't really see any big difference between the 615 and 616. Both, in my opinion, just stutter a little bit too much, and the overall experience just isn't the best one. So even a Snapdragon 410 device, in my opinion, performs better. 2 GB of RAM for the multitasking work out quite okay, but there are a few phones that handle that already better. G Plus is something where we'll also see quite a lot of stutters, some hanging, but if you don't need the very best, very smoothest performance, this phone is still good, because no, I won't launch Asphalt, because I tried it in a first take already, and the loading times and the ads between that are just too horrible. So let's just stick with Riptide GP2. Let's get the volume down. And like I said, if you don't need the very fastest device on the market, want a good experience, because for browsing it's fine, for all the usual lower end apps it's absolutely fine, and it runs everything. It just doesn't run it super smooth or super convincing. For some reason the 616, 615 don't get my full approval, and I know a lot of people think different, because I've seen a lot of people commenting on my Huawei G8 review and they said they are perfectly happy with it, the performance would be great, they are super happy, and yeah, as you can see with the gaming performance, it does a good job, absolutely fine. Not the highest frame rates, but definitely not too many slowdowns, not too many hiccups. Frame rates are halfway stable, so not to sound too harsh on it. The performance is okay. There is still a lot of stutters and lag, and that's why it gets a little bit more of a harsh opinion from me. If you want something really smooth, because I definitely prefer something a little bit smoother and therefore maybe have some other compromises. So this is definitely not the best performer out there, not even maybe in this price range. Now about the battery life, a full charge takes about 2 hours and 10. Absolutely fine here. The battery life, let's check that one here. And this is actually a little bit odd, because we are using almost the same SoC as we did on the Huawei G8. Same battery size, same battery, or I mean same display resolution, maybe not the same one in terms of efficiency, and the same software, but we got 4 hours over the course of one day, 4.5 over the course of one day, 4.5 over the course of one day, and slightly over 4 hours over the course of one day, which is absolutely decent, absolutely okay, and I don't really have a problem. It should get the job done, but the odd thing is to see maybe the 616 on the Huawei G8 was more efficient, but there at least I got 1, if not 1.5 hours more of screen on time, which made it actually totally fine 2-day phone, which I didn't find so much on here. This is still fine, but I don't get quite the big gap between those two. So let's talk about the software. Since I already said it's the same as on the G8, you could actually watch that part in my G8 review, because I don't want to get too much into that. We are running still 5.1.1. And if you want to know more about the software, please go into the Huawei G8 review and check that one, because I will talk about the good things there, but because I don't want to waste the time here, because we are already close to getting Marshmallow here. Some regions already have it, and from what I saw on the Huawei Mate 8, that I also made a specific EMUI 4 review on Marshmallow, I gotta say they made a lot of huge improvements. They improved things like the recent apps, which don't have this anymore and have like more of a iOS style design. The quick toggles have been improved, and a lot of other things have been improved, so I'm way more happy with that. So 5.1.1 right now is already good. In terms of design, definitely a lot of people won't like it, but it's okay once you get used to it. Maybe use a third-party launcher, it should be fine. But with Marshmallow, a lot of things should already be better, so watch out for that. It should come quite soon. So now about the camera. Selfies look really, really nicely. They're actually quite sharp. Exposure is good, color balance is good, and I was actually surprised to get that good of selfies on a low-end phone. Now about the low light pictures though, they are quite blurry, not really super detailed, but therefore at least not that grainy, so actually quite okay. About the pictures in normal lighting, The only thing that I wasn't so happy about was the slow shutter speeds. Pictures does need a long time to actually focus and then shoot, so this will take a little bit longer, but once it does, because autofocus works quite okay, you get quite nice pictures. Some are either a little bit over sharpened and some though a little bit like softened, and you will actually see that sometimes when you shoot a picture it says resharpening the video or the photo, and this is what it will do. And once already talking about the video qualities are definitely behind the ones of the photo qualities, because the picture seems kind of over sharpened and blurry in the same case, which is odd. Exposure is nice, the color balance is okay, everything is fine, but everything just looks a little bit mushed up. There's also no autofocus during the video, which is super unfortunate, and only just the recent released Mate 8 did cover that, so that's still of a bummer. Camera for videos is barely acceptable, and for photos actually quite okay. So now I want to get to the recently rebranded deal breakers. Design and build quality definitely is no deal breaker because it feels great in the hand, a little bit more on the bulkier side, but therefore premium feel, solidly built, and everything has been done here nicely. There's also a screen protector on the screen, which I personally don't like so much, but I guess that's a cheaper version, not using Gorilla Glass or something like that, even though I'm not quite sure if it may be used, but I don't think so. Now the display definitely is no deal breaker either, because the screen is nice, could only maybe be a little bit more saturated, but the overall qualities are absolutely there. Even better so is the speaker, because really loud, tonal balance is fine, didn't really block it ever, so gets my recommendation here. Performance is the one thing that for me is a little bit of a deal breaker, and the one reason why I didn't really recommend so much the G8. I always told people is it's a nice phone, but the performance isn't great, and the same thing is what I say here. The overall phone is great, but the performance is something that I'm just not that happy with, because so many times we just see so many micro stutters and lags. If that's no bothering for you, if you don't need the fastest, the most smoothest phone, then it's totally fine, because it still handles everything just fine. Battery life deal breaker? I would say no, because it should get most people through the day, because this is no power user phone, and for the average guy it could even hold up for 2 days, all fine here. Software definitely could be a deal breaker for a lot of people, even though it's not one for me. I got used to the EMUI for a lot of times because I used more and more phones recently. It gets the job done. The features are there with Marshmallow. It even improved in a lot of ways and is even superior to some other UIs this time on the market. So totally fine from my standpoint. The camera, if you are really heavy into photography, it could be a deal breaker for you. But if you are heavy into photography, I don't think you will buy a low budget phone or a budget phone. Then you will buy something more expensive. But for this price point, the picture qualities are nice, the video quality is not so much. And this leads me to my conclusion. And is this phone the epic $200 phone? Okay, here's my standpoint. $199, sometimes on sale even lower. This phone really offers a lot. The value is really great because the overall qualities are good. The only things where it skimps out a little bit is performance and maybe camera. So just keep that in mind. And that's why I will say for $200, it's one of the best phones on the market. There are some even cheaper ones that perform better but don't have the overall qualities, that's for sure. But if you maybe are able or are willing to pay a little bit more, for example, the OnePlus One or the Zook Z1 would be maybe better alternatives, because the performance should be better, the battery life is even better there, camera should also be better. So these are the alternatives you should maybe consider. So OnePlus One definitely performs a lot better, and from what I read on the Zook Z1, it should be the same. I'm definitely not bashing this phone, because you can't really do much wrong. If you buy it, it should provide a great experience, you should get happy, you should be happy with it. But I don't think it's the prodigy. It's not that amazingly unbeatable $200 device. It's a really, 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 really solid $200 phone. If the price is even lower, the value gets even better. But for a little bit more, you can get maybe more than just a little bit more. Okay, I think I've covered all that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you like this video, leave it a thumbs up. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews like that. And I hope this review was okay. And I hope you liked it. So until next time, see you. Bye.